Item number 9, discussion of possible action on update of 2012 audit report for Maverick County. Presentation by Martinez, Rosario, and Trump.
Milo Martinez.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Pardon?
I apologize. We'll come back to it. Thank you. Thanks, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
What I've handed out, and there may be a similar document already in there, but it's an outline that I've handed out that to give you a little bit of an update of the different critical dates and just a chronology of the different events and kind of where we are, why we are at this point as far as the status of audit completion and final delivery report to Commissioner Court. And so in general, I've got a little summary. There are 3 signed contracts that we've got, and those are on item 2. And you've got a handout that just shows the signature page and the date. But anyway, they were signed on those dates, the different contracts, and so that started our audit process. So we started on August the 22nd, working, and we've been working on the audit to date, to the current date. And we worked on the audit as the information has been provided to us. And we've had many delays and stops along the way because the information is slow in coming in, or the quality of the information is not there, so we have to repeat it and send it back. Most of the audit work should be completed by the end of February 14th. We've done most of the work. I'm finishing up my reviews. We've got a little bit more test work to do. But we've done the bulk of it, and we're starting to write the reports. So we're looking to have draft reports available by the end of February. The one thing that we've not touched at all, and that we don't have any work done on other than we were sent the financial statement, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes, like the Maverick County Solid Waste Authority. They have not engaged us because they generally engage us separately, just like we do separate contracts for the PSC and the GEO. So, no work has been done there other than I would send some financial statements, and I send them back to the county auditor with all the questions and concerns and comments, and it's part of the emails that I've got in here. And so I'm going to start the chronology and just kind of take you through some of the highlights on each one. There are some that I'm going to stop and talk a little bit more about that are more significant. But again, we wanted to document the trail of communication that's occurred between our office and the county auditor, and a lot of times I maybe see, on some of these I've CC'd the county judge, I thought it needed to be included in the discussion or make you aware of it. About July 15th of this summer, we received, the judge received, and we'd gone and had a meeting earlier this year, and I see the state rep, is here. He was there with us when we talked to the Texas Department of Agriculture, and they were having some concerns about the prior year, the one for 9/30/2011 audit, and it didn't have some things that they wanted in it, so we agreed to a plan of what we could do to redo some work or expand some of the work so that we could meet the standards that they wanted. So that was done and turned in to them at the end of July. But along there, they said, well, when's the next audit? Well, the idea was that we would get started on the audit end of July, early August. And you can see the dates in the contracts, that didn't quite happen. But again, from there, they had asked me there on the spot, what do you think you can get the audit done? And we had given them a date, because we thought the books would be ready and closed at the point, and we were ready and closed at the point. But anyway, we gave them a date. We said, look, we think it will take 90 days, so we start August 1. We should finish by the end of October.
So what was missing? The TDA was not too happy.
They wanted, because there was a disclaimer of opinion on your financials, that we had not done enough work, which is a standard. We had issued the opinions that comply with the federal and state standards. They came back and interpreted and said, no, we don't think it complies. And so we went through an argument back and forth and said, well, the standards and that we're following and all the your own literature do not say that the report has to encompass it. You know, they wanted an opinion, and we had not given an opinion because the numbers were bad at the county, so we couldn't, you know, we hadn't done enough work. But it's the normal that you can do that. The standard lets you do that. What we did, the standard allows. They wanted more work, so we went back and did more work and got to the point where the numbers were good and we could issue an opinion on your federal grants. They wanted one of the federal grants because their money is federal money. So we got that to them by the end of July, that's when they wanted it. We issued that report, and so they were happy with that part. And so the next part was, again, they wanted the audit finished by the end of October. So again, we started the process, getting the contracts done, and started the process there. Once the contracts were signed, then we started our work on the 22nd. And on the 26th, which is, the 22nd was like, I think, a Thursday. On the 26th, which is a Monday, we sent lists on the 26th, 27th, 28th, two on the 26th, and one on the 27th for all the 3 audits. And it's not 100% of what we'll need, but it's the bulk of what we need to get the audit done. So we sent all of those to the county auditor. And there's an email there, and the emails are in there by date sequentially, so if you want to look at any of that. Anyway, it's got attachments, and of all the things that we needed. And we gave them some time and communicated with them. We sent them, take a look at it, let's get together. We set up a telephone conference, a work session, let's go through all the things. When are we going to get them? And started the process so we can keep the flow of information going. So there were some things that were promised at those meetings in that quickly the dates were missed. We continued asking for them. And so if you go to number 7, then you can see, and then there's not an email for number 7, it's just some dates. These are critical documents that we needed as soon as we started the audit. The trial balance, accounts receivable, accounts payable, all of those. So the trial balance, you don't get it until you close the books. So it means the books aren't closed until you get that. And so, and even to date, some of the accounts have not been closed. As we're asking for information, we finally got it and said, oh, oops, we haven't analyzed this account. No, you have to analyze all your accounts to make sure the books are closed. So we got that document, those are the dates there on number 7. On November 7th, I forwarded an email that was received from the state saying, it's November 4th and we haven't received your audit report. And, you know, it's going to trigger the ramifications that we had discussed with you earlier. And I forwarded that to the county auditor's office. So he's aware of it, and he'd also gotten the communications previously when this October 31 date had been communicated by the state. I forwarded that information to him. The next item on number 9, we received your list of the federal and state grants. These are all the grants that you have. And I think you had asked, Commissioner Reese, you had asked back in the summer, I think in July, August, I was here like in August, I believe, talking. And you wanted to know, we wanted to know that list. It wasn't produced until this date, so about 2.5 months later, we could find it was produced. But I mean, it should all be part of closing the books and have that ready. So then, because from that, we look at it and we determine what programs we're going to test, and then we ask more questions and select transactions, etc. So again, everything is being pushed back 60, 75 days. You know, we're not getting some critical pieces of information, and so, you know, we're in a position that we're ready to go to work in September, but everything keeps moving on us, and so it just pushes the date further and further back. And you know, it's difficult. Yours is a large enough audit that it's difficult that you can have, you know, 2 or 3 people just waiting all the time for you to be saying, okay, well, I'm ready now, come see me. We try to schedule it and coordinate that, but when we don't know when the dates are going to happen, eventually we get some stuff, and now we can react to it and do some things and just reschedule. But you know, we you know, besides, we do have other accounts that we work on, and so we're trying to take care of everybody's commitments and still try to get your audit done as quickly as possible. Around November, early November, right before Thanksgiving, Judge Salcedo communicated with me. He was concerned because of the letter he'd gotten back from the state and just where are we on the audit. He said, I know you probably haven't gotten everything. So I sent him an email that talked about some of the things that we were been very late in getting, some things that we still didn't have. One of the things that we did not have is the 2 smaller audits that we do, one for the GEO, which is a jail operations that runs that you were formerly contracting out, and the entity that has the debt, which is a PFC corporation. Your bondholders want a separate audit for those. And so, and those audits are due every year about this time of year. So right now we're working, but anyway, we had requested that, and it's one of the simpler, one of the easier requests, and we thought we'd get it quicker. We'd go ahead and finish that audit, get it out of the way, the little one, and then keep working on the big one. Well, we were promised the information at a meeting with, I had 2 meetings that day on the 27th, the follow-up after the 19th, which is the day before Thanksgiving. I had 2 meetings, and one where I met with Judge Salcedo, and we also briefly, he and I met with Judge Oscal, and then Judge Oscal asked me if we could meet later on that afternoon with the county auditor and himself. So we met at that and discussed the problems that we were having, and we were going to get the information quicker. One of the big items that we brought up in that meeting was those documents for the PFC entities and the operations, and we were promised that we would get it the next week after Thanksgiving. And we got something, let's see, we were provided the information on December the 10th. There's not an email in here. However, the information was not correct. So we communicated again after Christmas and the holidays, and we finally got the information that we were needing last week.
Okay, just a minute.
Yes, sir.
The question is this. Innovative meetings with Judge Oscar.
We had a brief meeting with just Judge Salcedo and I. The county auditor was not present at that meeting. Just briefly admitted and we said, okay, what are the logistics, what are the problems? Why are we having problems with that? And I just said, well, we're just not getting the responses. You know, whatever the priorities are of the county auditor, the audit is not getting the priority and the turnaround time. So can you help us? You know, because he doesn't, you know, and I think at that time we were already talking about, you guys were talking about setting up an audit committee to get some of this process moving forward, moving faster, so that's what we had hoped would happen. But again, so then we asked Judge Oscal to, you know, let's meet, let's talk about these items and see what we can do to improve the process. So we were assured that we would get some of this information. We even talked about, you know, the problem with the state if you didn't get the audit in on time. So the county auditor, Mr. Ortiz, said he didn't know anything about the communications, which I've got emails here that clearly show that I forwarded to him. Whether he read them or not, I don't know, but he forwarded to him. And so he said, well, he heard a rumor that might be happening, and I couldn't remember at the time, but then I followed up right after Christmas and forwarded that email to Judge Oscal to show him that we had notified him any kind of communication like this that comes through so that everybody's aware of what we're up against. But he said he denied the meeting, I don't know anything. I said, I've heard a rumor about it. I said, well, I thought I emailed it to you. The answer said, no, you didn't. So, okay, I'm not sure. I didn't have my emails with me. So I went back and said, well, I'm pretty sure I have. So anyway, I provided that email in here that I had sent him.
You did in fact send it.
Oh, yes.
Your statement.
Oh, yes, I did in fact send it. I sent it on November 7th to a whole bunch of people. You can see all the, if you find the document in there. They're all in sequential order in there. So again, we've been documenting, so there's no miscommunication. It's in black and white, and it's what we did. And we're just trying to do work, you know, keep our process moving forward. So again, that puts us right around Thanksgiving. Then we're trying to move the Solid Waste Authority forward. He was told, and again, what he represented to me, that he was told by the board, get some financials over to us to look at and let us get some kind of pricing so we can figure out, you know, how we're gonna get the contract done. And so I looked at them, and the information was very, very bad. And I've got some pretty strong comments and questions about that, because at first I would get a financial statement on the solid waste operations. The math doesn't even work. It's out of balance by $800,000. The calculator attached to it. You can see the total that was supposed to be there. The numbers don't work. If you want to go to that particular email, the one December 18th. So if everyone's found that one, So anyway, I'm presenting in there attached a list of my questions and comments when I've reviewed the statements. And reattach the statements that we have gotten. And again, I'm just saying that I was disappointed with the poor condition of the financial statements that were presented. And I can see why there's a reluctance to try to present it to the board. But if they're not materially correct, it means that the accounting system's not good, that there's a problem with the records. I mean, you should have a financial reporting that you know the numbers don't balance, the numbers aren't correct, I haven't reconciled an account. Something, you should have a process before you issue a financial statement. And, you know, and he's been an external auditor, so again, they should be completely closed. And it's obvious to me that that hasn't happened for 9/30. It's pretty obvious, we're just looking at it and working with it. And, you know, we provided them all the documentation that we had prepared for the 9/30/2011 audit so that they could analyze the accounts, do whatever they knew, what we looked at, what we were looking for. So everything to pick up the end of our numbers in 2011 and come forward, all of that has been provided. We asked if there were any items that needed help with. And again, we were told that, and they've hired a person that's dedicated 100% of the time, you know, to, or not only not 100%, but they're dedicated to making sure that the records are correct for this. And there were some problems we knew because the books and records were on two different accounting systems, so they had to re-input and close and all, but they had plenty of time at this point to do all of that. And again, so I said, it's difficult for me to estimate, because if you're asking, you need to do all of these entries and reconcile the accounts that you have reconciled. Condition, you can see right there where those totals are supposed to match up, and you don't. So right off the bat, as soon as I get a document like this, well, it's hard for me to trust it because where are the errors? You know, and so we went back and checked it, because Excel, you can make it be whatever you want it to be, and it doesn't have to be correct. I mean, you can use it like a typing program, but it doesn't help math check. So, you know, so anyway, we do that right away. The first thing we do, and then I compared it then I compared all the numbers to the prior year to see what was there. And then the last item that I've attached is a list of questions that I've got from this information that's in here. And it just said it's got 9 items on there. I don't know if everybody can see that, the 9 items from that email. And so these are just different items that are going down the accounts that, you know, I'm concerned. Have you made sure that all of these items, these things have occurred? Because again, we're being asked to give a fee presentation. We'll be glad to do it, but I just want to make sure that the books are closed, we've looked at. Has he gone back and looked at the transaction, made sure they're in good shape? Because that's one of the things that we run into the county. There are a lot of transactions that he's not going to take responsibility for. There are over 5,000 journal entries that are not, and most of those haven't been reviewed by him. So nobody's reviewed them and approved them and made sure that they're correct besides the person that did them. And so that's bad. You know, somebody needs to review and approve and say it's been done correct. So, you know, he said, well, just too much work. I said, okay, well, we can't go audit those transactions because that's not what we're hired to do. Because there's 5,000 transactions like that, you know, what we call journal entries. And usually, you know, but the process of reviewing and approving them and the controls to make sure that the support and the reason, the rationale behind the journal entry is correct, it's just not happening. I mean, it's not, if you just have one person do it, it's not good. It's just, you gotta have somebody else review it and look at it and approve it. And I said, why do you have so many journal entries? You're not that big of an operation in Hall County. You shouldn't have 5,000 journal entries. Well, apparently, the software, the way they were using it, there was a lot of entries that were being entered and nobody was reviewing them, and then they were doing wrong, and then the next month they figure out, oops, it's wrong, so then they make a correction the other way, and oops, it's wrong the other way, and so you're going back and forth because there's no control. But they should all be reviewed before they ever get input into the system, so that you don't have to do that repetitive and clean up and post one way and I gotta back it up, put it in and back it up. You don't have any controls and somebody's not watching what's going on. I mean, they have the best interest of people doing it. I don't think that they want to put in a bad entry, but you know, that's why you have the supervisory levels of anything that you're reporting. So all of those are the things, the concerns that we had, and just all the questions I've got. You know, at the very end, my big concern is, you know, if you look at 9E, my concern is, has there been adequate supervision or review of just those records? And that's a small sample. And we know the county, there's a lot of breakdowns that haven't occurred there. But this is a smaller set of books, even though it's a part of the county, you know, has all that been done? And obviously, for the financial statements to not even be mathematically correct, that tells you that there's, you know, a lot of issues there. And there were some items that were off over $1 million that didn't make any sense to us. You know, what's called your accumulated depreciation. That had changed, and you couldn't see it flowing through your P&L, and there's some other entries that needed to be put.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
so what was the response from Judge Abascal to all of this? I mean, it.
Judge Abascal at that juncture instructed Mr. Martinez that if he had any issues in the future, in reference to our auditor, to go ahead and forward it to him and to notify him.
And you done that?
No, that I have not done. That I have not done.
I'm just, what gets to me, this is where I'm at, is that I have to come out here and we have to request an item here for the district judge to see what's going on. Now, my responsibility is this county. The state agencies have been more than helpful in bending over backwards to make sure that we try to keep our funding. And they're saying, we're not getting this on time. I have to go to Milo, and Milo says, because I'm dealing with our auditor saying, no, it's Milo. And Milo telling me, there's a paper trail here. You're seeing all the correspondence when he's requested it, and the fact that he hasn't received it. Okay? You're telling me that we're having trouble getting an audit from the landfill. Is that correct?
Yeah, well,
Well,
it needs,
okay, and didn't we hire an employee specifically to work, and isn't the landfill paying for that employee to be taking care of those books? Works out of your office. And we don't have,
this is what the condition that we're in when I got sent the financials in December.
have they been fixed?
I don't know, I have not gotten any further up, I think, I'm not sure
The
what the
report
instruction.
he got, we did to assist them. Otherwise, they would do it. He doesn't want to do it.
To assist
Now,
you?
No,
Yeah.
it's not,
Well, hold on.
Normally, Judge, you contract somebody in smaller counties, they'll come in, they'll do the audit to the extent of doing the report itself. In this case, we said, Maria, go ahead and do the report to help the auditors out. And send it to them so that they can look at it and critique it and come back and we'll go through it again. And that's what was done.
Yep.
Now, the board wanted to get an estimate of how much it was gonna cost. The reason they haven't contracted with him is because he wants $25,000 more for 2011 audit. And the board wants to meet and talk. They met once already with him, but they wanna meet again. And the board, I talked to Judge Hassel about it. He says, you let the Commissioners Court know that we have a problem with that.
Have you
And
talked to me about that?
He says he has not talked.
Have you talked to me about that?
No, I have not.
Well, then how am I supposed to
I,
know? You're
the
telling
rea-
me right
the
now.
reason I didn't talk to you is because this was in Judge Hassel's court, that the board has to decide whether they wanna pay the $25,000. Now, if he's saying we can't finish the county without that report, that's not correct. He can do it.
Can you in fact do that?
Well, I can issue, again, I'll just put another qualification.
Go ahead.
You know, and just issue it without it, or put numbers in there that we say are unaudited, and we can issue that. So we can do that. Just trying to get your report as complete as possible.
Right.
But it's not gonna be
But you and I
complete.
both know what the state's gonna come back and say.
They don't care, they just want a report, you know? They
Well,
wanna-
obviously they do care,
Well,
because
because,
we went through this last year, okay?
but they're not gonna care about the solid waste authority operations.
Right.
They're gonna care that the grants and where are we on the general fund and your grant fund operations, okay? And they're gonna care, have you fixed all the problems?
Whose
with it?
responsibility would it have been to fix those books? He's claiming that you all said, okay, we'll help out, but we're gonna charge such and such an amount. Would that be your responsibility as an independent auditor?
What we did for 2011,
Mm-hmm.
we couldn't get, there were records that were not available out of his office. So we had to go back and reconstruct, which was way above and beyond what we were asked to do for an audit. And we had to go back several years to get it all, everything that was spent
Mhm.
to build the solid waste.
Mhm.
Okay, because those records were not, the summarized records were not there had to go back to boxes of checks and invoices and reconstruct all that, get with engineers and get things all laid out. So again, there were lots of adjustments that came out of that, we did that, that's not necessarily our responsibility, it needed to get done. And so we did it to get the audit, wrapped up, but we're not the ones who need to do the books, it's,
You just check the work.
I just checked the work, and the financial statement here, I'm not, shirking our duty. It's just, first of all, one, we haven't even been hired. That's one for 2012. So what am I doing with the 2012 financials? I haven't been hired, one. Okay, but I'm not gonna get sticky on the details.
Right.
The deal is, he says he's doing, the county auditor has contracted with the solid waste to do their bookkeeping and accounting. So they're
That's
the
right.
ones doing the accounting and financial reporting,
That's
not
right.
us.
So
he
why,
should
why,
be
how
doing
many?
It has been done. It has been done. In fact, we have a notebook about that thick for 2012. Everything is laid out in there according to the financial statements. Now, he's saying they're out of balance. They're not out of balance. What happened is that when they were transmitted, she made a last minute change. And when she made that change, it didn't run through the report. Once we got notice of that, we went back and she found it right away. That the report is in balance, it's in balance. Everything's in balance. We've done very detailed work on that, and Maria has done a good job.
Do you
Now-
have that information?
No, he doesn't want to look at it.
Well, I haven't been contracted, first of all.
Yeah, that's the other
Let's
thing.
get down to one
He
issue.
hasn't been
I
contracted.
haven't been contracted.
In fact, technically, 11 is not done yet. He gave the final report, but the board hasn't accepted it because they have a problem with the price.
The-
Came back and he wants
the
25,000 more.
problem with the price, I've only heard it from him. Never heard it from the general manager.
Sure.
The gen-
Or manager.
Or the chairperson?
And the chair, I've not had communication with the chairperson, but I've been communicating with, with the general manager, with Mike. And so I said, Mike, you want me here? I'll be here, tell me what you need. If they need information, they got a question, I'm there, just tell me. And they haven't, they said, well, they were having trouble making some of the quorums. I said, whatever, just tell me, and just give me a couple of days lead, and I'll be there. And so I've been open to come in and discuss it, and it hasn't, so I've not heard that
The
from him.
holidays
Hold on,
came
hold
into
on, you already
question.
spoke, he's speaking.
Yeah.
Let him finish.
So I haven't got any formal, verbal or formal emails or communications in a letter about that. This is what I've gotten from him, that they're concerned about that. Okay, fine. I'm ready to talk about it, but and I've been since back in last year, because I gave him a final report. There were some issues that came up with the title of the assets. And so it drug out some of the report. We sent it to him. I sent all that stuff to him in October. Let's wrap it up. We're ready to go. And they've just, it hasn't happened. So again, that's where, but the financial statements are a product of the accountant. And if you have these kinds of problems, I can't believe that there's one entry that caused all the problems that I'm putting on there.
Yes,
I cannot believe that that's the case. I really don't.
there was one entry, and that entry did nothing more than she changed it, and instead of rolling back 2 or 3 pages on it, it didn't do it.
But why weren't they reviewed by him? See, that's the kind of things that I'm
You know,
talking about.
I've gotta be, I'm sitting here, and I know the commissioners have to be incredulous about this. I certainly know the public is. Because I'm sitting, and I'm asking for answers here. I'm the judge, okay? This is coming up in a public meeting, and I've been saying that this is just since October. You've never brought that up to me one time. You never brought it up to me one time that you said, well, you know what, this is a problem because he's asking for more money.
For what?
I don't
The
know.
land,
About the audit, about the
landfill?
landfill portion.
the landfill? That, I figured, was the board's problem. of
Sir,
the landfill.
what have I been on you for the past few months about getting done? When you and I sat down and I told you, I feel that there's a lackadaisical attitude about what needs to get done in order for the county to operate.
You know that's not true.
That-
It's not true,
That's not
because
true?
he's,
What month are we in?
anything that they have asked for, they have got.
I've got correspondence from them stating that they haven't received the information that they needed. Their request and the dates when they received the information.
Right.
They've been requesting.
But
and I
they
don't have that.
got-
I didn't make that up. All of these commissioners have that information.
Look, Judge, you know it and the commissioners know it. The biggest problem that we have in the office is trying to catch up. We're trying to catch up.
I'm having the
to
same
everything.
problem, sir. But there's gotta be a priority. And my priority,
That
oh, let me
prior-
finish, sir,
Yeah.
okay? I let you speak already. Now let me finish. And my priority is to make sure that we don't lose the necessary funding to keep the county afloat. And it doesn't seem that, I'm not finished. And it doesn't seem that that's come to you where he's had to come and I've had to go to him and say, we're about to lose millions of dollars. Not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, millions of them. And you know that the county needs those monies in order to keep going, yet there doesn't seem to be any urgency. There doesn't seem to be that, hey, you know what? We've missed the October deadline. It's become a, well, it was him. He didn't do it. Well, no, it was this individual. They didn't do it. And here we are. We're going to hit February, a couple of days here, and we don't have an audit yet. What do we need to do to remedy that? What is it that this court needs to do? Do we need to take legal action? Do we need to do like we did with the monthly reports where we weren't receiving them, and we finally had to have the county attorney go to the auditor and say, we're going to take legal action?
Judge.
We have to do it. I'm not finished, sir. I've given you the opportunity to speak, and I'm not done. Is that a remedy?
Well, that's a decision for the commissioners to make, but I mean, again.
Mr. Nevadas, I'm asking you as a county attorney, is that a remedy, sir?
It is, I mean, I'm sitting, my state representative, Captain, because of Mr. Martinez, and you mentioned I was at that meeting. And one of the things that struck me at the meeting, and you all were witness to, I mean, the groveling and the begging that was going on our side, and all of it had to do with this one issue, which is what we're talking about today, is the audit. And so I've been a witness to the exchanges, I've read them, I've looked at them, and as I'm telling you as an individual that it's not enough for the auditor sitting behind me to stand up and say this, this, and this. I'd like him to explain to the court and to the public if those documents were not provided pursuant to the request in those emails, why? And the dates, this is why I didn't do it on this date, this is why I didn't do it on that date. I mean, it's come to that. And I'm telling you this as a member of the Texas House. I'm telling you this as a member of the community because I was there. I looked the woman in the face who was in charge of this. And together as a group, we told her this is what we can do. I know Mr. Martinez has tried to get these documents, and we're at a place now, at a point where it may be that this is off the rails, and it's off the rails because there's no accounting for it. And I'm gonna put my legal hat back on, and I'm gonna tell you, yes, there is legal action.
Mr. Brace.
Judge, my comment on this particular matter is, in addressing the state representative here, of all the counties in the state of Texas, I dare say we're the only ones that haven't finished with 2012. Probably all of them has already finished. We're staying behind, and we're staying behind. When are you gonna finish? Well, as long as he's requesting more material, and external auditors requesting more material. When are we gonna get to that particular point? The citizens of this community, they expect the help that we should be getting from the state, and everything is put on hold, How long are we gonna keep saying there and crawl to get things done? Well, you guys are not doing your work. How can you possibly get funding or any kind of grants when you haven't finished with 2012? What does it take? I mean, you already went to, my contention is that what else do you need to show to Judge Abascal to put an end to this?
I don't know. I have a federal agency that is asking me to set up an appointment with him next week because of the issues that they're also having.
Judge,
And how the lack of the audit is affecting us.
Judge, if you may, just thinking of a comment that our auditor mentioned about, and I liken it to a tennis game, batting the ball back into the other court. Is there any correspondence or documents or emails in there that say, hey, Mr. Martinez, you need to get on the ball, this is your job to do. You gotta quit asking me for documents because you know you're supposed to finish the audit with X, Y, Z, and you need to finish it and quit asking me for this stuff because you know it's your job to finish, and if you don't, the county's, in other words, is there an alarm going off from the auditor's office saying, hey, we're gonna lose these grants, Milo, because you're not doing your job? I mean, Milo knew because when he went to Austin and sat with me and said, hey, this is gonna happen, and so Milo knew, but I wanna know if the alarm was sounding on this side saying, if in fact this is true about the lack of documents, where's the alarm on this auditor's office saying, hey Milo, we're in a lot of trouble and it's your issue, it's your fault, get on it because the judge is gonna be very unhappy with me, the public's gonna be very unhappy with the judge, and this is where we're at. And I don't see that in this document.
I think the problem that we've seen here, and it happened in this court unfortunately, where I believe the auditor made the statement that he doesn't answer to us, or he didn't answer to me.
That's right, you said it.
And he answers to the district judge. Well, we've been trying to tell the district judge, and I've had several department heads that want to visit with the district judge, is that they can't get things done for some reason. For whatever reason, I don't know. But when I've got federal agencies that are ready to come in and say, we need to speak to the judge now, okay, because this is too much.
Well,
And yes, there is a sense of urgency on my part. I was there. He was there. You were there when I said, we can get this done. We can get it done, you know? And they came back and they said, you know what, we believe in what you guys are trying to do down there. We're gonna help you. How many times are we gonna go back?
you go back again next month?
I'm gonna do what I have to do.
Well, we have the external auditor who says that the information is very slow, coming from the auditor's office, that it's of poor quality, and that he's not engaged with landfill authority. Is dissatisfied our external auditor with poor performance from our auditor. They have plenty of time. He's not hired to do any kind of accounting, and it's just tremendous amount of complaint. I'm baffled, you know. Wow, what's it gonna take to get things done?
At this point, he has gotten everything that he has asked for. It's done. Now, we give them information, which we asked them this morning. They said, we got everything. We're not even working on 12 anymore. We're working on 13. Because he told us we got the information, not him, his staff. And we went by that they had the information. What did he say right now? I don't know.
We've got, again, there's one of the last emails in there shows you the progression to date, some of the information we've gotten in the last week. There's been a scurrying of activity from his office this week to try to get us stuff, and, because they need this meeting.
I imagine it came out after the agenda came out on Monday.
Yeah. And so but there's still there's a big item that I don't know that we've gotten. I'd asked my staff, they told me that we hadn't gotten it. I don't know if it came in later, the self-insurance information, Melissa, have we gotten it?
No, he hasn't forwarded
But
to me.
he delayed that and said, well, we're not self-insured. I said, well, during that year, it's not like a regular plan where you paid the premium and you didn't worry about it no more. You had to, you know, you had to pay medical claims as they came in because you were self-insured for that. You may have changed it since then, but for that year, I have to look at your liabilities, and we asked and asked and asked, and we kept telling them, we're not, you don't need that information, and that we were getting that response, and finally I just said, look, we need it. If you're not gonna give it to me, then I'll just put another exception in the report that we didn't have that information. And then he started looking at it, and he says, oh no, this is wrong, and everybody's wrong. We hadn't looked at it. None of that had been looked at. He finally looked at it, and I'm hearing that there's gonna be an adjustment. I don't know if it's a big one or a little one, and then we'll look at and work to see that if we agree with it. But again, so those kinds of things that we're trying to wrap up. So again, we're in the final phases of our finishing up, and that's where we stand. But it's just been very slow, trickle process. We get something that's not correct, we bounce it back. And some of these things, particularly with the PSC, I didn't understand that one. Those are two easy ones, and those drug on and on and on and on, and we made it to this point. And so initially the response was, well, they changed the bank statement, they look different. I said, gosh, you're an accountant, it's the bank statement. I mean, we all go to different banks and now we gotta reconcile our banks, but that was what was slowing it up initially. Whatever, I mean, I don't know what's going on there, but it's just, there's not that many transactions with those entities, but they're very important because that's where you got your financing for the jail, and they wanna see where you are. And those reports are all due within 4 months of the end of the year. So the one that we're working for 2012 was due a year ago, and now the one for 2013 is already due.
Go ahead.
Mr. Martinez, when would the 2012 audit report would be ready?
We're looking to get you drafts of that report at the end of February. And then after that, if there's not any major changes, issue it shortly thereafter. And what we issue you should be what we expect to be final product. And then they'll be ready to transmit to wherever they need to be transmitted, shortly within a plus or minus a few days or a week after that.
March?
Yes. The only exception
Early
is,
March?
it's not gonna include any audit of the solid waste authority at this point. So we haven't, we'll just put it in there, so add another.
Would they set us back?
Sir?
Would that set us back? Because the
I'm
fact.
gonna ask, I'm gonna do everything that I can on your behalf, on the community's behalf, but, you know, the only thing I can tell you is, and I think everybody's seen it here, and I know the community has, and I know you all have. In fact, you know, some of you have actually been somewhat, critical of the fact that I have supplied the auditor's office with an abundance of support. And when I mean that, I mean staff that was requested. So this thing about we're behind is not gonna fly with me, because per capita, by far, exponentially, the auditor's office has received more staff than any other office has. Okay? So the tools have been given to do the job. And I know that you all feel, I don't know what the word is. I believe one of you came to me and said that it's let them eat cake attitude. Yet because I've given the auditor the staff that they need to get things done, yet it seems that every time you go with the auditors, they try to give you a lot of trouble on getting the stuff that you need to get done in your precinct. They have the tools that were requested of them, and you all don't. And I'm aware of that. And the thing is, we're supposed to be working together. We're all supposed to be working as one. And it seems like some departments get more than others, and some things don't get done. And it just seems like you get the, you know, and that's the culture that I'm trying to stop. That he said, she said mentality. That when I get CC'd on an email and they're going back and forth, and I'm just like, stop it already. Just do your job. And it's no different than with this audit. So no one's gonna tell me that this isn't happening. You feel like it's
Well,
at a crawl, and you feel like it's purposely at a crawl.
Judge, I think, well, what, the little that I've seen really for the external auditor to go through all of this, something is extraordinary what you do in Maverick County, and going through the whole process, the presentations and explanations and visiting with district judges, and this is something extraordinary. But you're right, we need to stop spinning the wheel, and we're not tracking enough. We're not moving it, that's hurting. It's an embarrassment, really.
Because
It's
Commissioner,
embarrassing.
I know you guys formed that committee and we said, okay, let's do progress, but he didn't want to participate. He's the one that chose not to participate because he said the law doesn't require him to. And so I'm not going to participate in the audit committee because I don't have to report to them. So.
And that in a nutshell is what the problem that we have here. I don't have to do this.
I mean, you don't have to,
No.
but if you want to be part of the
Hold on, I'm
solution-
not finished, sir. I'm speaking now.
No, he.
I am speaking, sir. You
He's
understand me?
incorrect.
No,
He's
sir.
incorrect.
I am speaking, sir. Understand that. Now, when you have that mentality, it's not gonna work. Yet you can come and ask me, can you get me more staff? Can you get me this? Well, no, I don't have to because the law says I don't have to. Do I operate that way? Have you seen this court in any way, form, or manner operate that way? You're given the tools that are needed. You're given everything you can to succeed. Nobody came and said, no, because the law says I don't have to give you another person. No, sir. We want to give you what you need in order to succeed.
Well,
We're just asking for the same in return. Help us succeed. You had a question, Mr. Royce?
well, this is just a statement, you know, it's not that, the leverage is done upon us to provide him with the staff that he does, and we have, if the district judge, in this case, Amado Oscar, decides to give him 20 more persons, and he says, you have to abide.
Sure.
You have no say, Commissioner's Court has no say so. He says, look, okay, here's an order, 20 more persons. Right? I mean,
And these individuals
It's up
have
to
been,
us.
these individuals have been turned into assistant auditors, which means that the moment you hire them as an assistant auditor, Commissioner's Court no longer has any jurisdiction over these individuals, and you don't tell them what to do. I think what's an embarrassment, and what should be to an embarrassment, it hasn't been pointed out, is that we had to put a position of a separate IT director on top of the one the auditor's office already has. Why? Because when you call to get something done, no, the IT director doesn't work for you. He's an assistant auditor under the auditor's office. Only the district judge can tell me what's. So, you know, we need help here. We need help, and it's unfortunate it had to come out in this fashion for the public to know, but the public needs to know. Okay? And in the future, when there isn't more staff that is rewarded or given to that department, it's because, number one, you were given sufficient staff, and when we, why? Because the law.
Court would need to take so that we can proceed with taking legal action as to whoever's responsible for this situation we're in.
I mean, we get back to you, because there's several options. I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope that kind of clearing the air today to a certain extent, and maybe focus all of us on what we need to do to kind of move this thing forward and kick the can down the, well, not kick the can down the road, but actually kick it off the road and get it done. But let me get back to you.
Judge, I don't know about this particular legal matter. Certainly the Texas Constitution defines very much so, and that's for every county, that the auditor is supposed to be a totally independent person under the district judges in most cases, like us here. And we certainly cannot tell the district judge what to do. Just like to you, nobody can tell you what to do. Nobody can force you to do something. How much of a legal action, I mean, if the community is somehow in danger, or the community is, the overall impact of the community is being heard, I mean, it's not necessary to take any legal action. Can you understand that? Can you move? Why do we have to rely on legal action if we can just take action for crying out loud?
I guess that's the point I'm trying to make is that, and again, just let me preface the comments by saying this, is I don't think anybody should or needs to be forced legally to do anything. It's just a question of, as Commissioner Ruiz says, getting the job done. But I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, what happens after the day in terms of, you know, and I'm gonna, I mean, breaking it down as far as this, like physically getting the stuff that needs to get from point A to point B, so that they can get it to TDA and TDA can make the call. I mean, it's that simple. And I mean, again, I was there. I mean, I put, you know, I put a face there and said, look, this is gonna get done. And then I come to find out, you know, at the end of the year, and I followed this trail of emails, and I remember sitting here asking the judge, what's going on here, man? I'm telling this woman at TDA that you all are gonna get this done, and this is what I'm getting, this. And I mean, I was flabbergasted. And so hopefully this will allow physically that from point A to point B with no more excuses, no more nothing, let's get it done.
And Mr. Nevares, I know that you have a lot of communities that you look out for there, but, and I hate to bring this up, but we didn't, listen, by law, the Commissioner's Court is required to get a monthly report. By law. That's the law, okay? Talking about, I don't have to do that because the law didn't say that. Well, we had to come to the point where we were gonna sanction the auditor in order to finally get monthly financial reports. So, unfortunately, this isn't the first time that this happens.
Judge, do you have any, I'm sorry, Mr. Martinez, are you finished with your report?
I don't have it, I mean, I think you know where the status is of the summary. I told you that it's said that the communication so everybody can see what's been going on. And of course, be glad to take any questions or anything else. That concludes what I'd like to present.
Judge, are we taking
Well,
any action?
I would think that we would have to come with a follow-up item, the way we did the last time. I would imagine that it would need to be an executive session to speak to our attorney to see what actions we are allowed to take in order to get the information. This is an update. Any more questions? No action at this juncture. Thank you.
Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Where are we here? We're gonna go back to item 8. Vito was frantically waiting for you, man. We were really excited and now it took too long and you lost your moment.